So operculum is something that covers the gills. Like in fishes, we can't see the gill slits, right? Because they have a plate-like structure which covers the gills. They have operculum. Now imagine if inside our body also if the temperature becomes minus, what might happen? Our blood will start to freeze. Circulation of blood will completely stop and eventually the person will die. So both A and B also is the right answer here, because they also have notochord which is present, that is they have notochord but it is not persistent. Hello everyone, a warm welcome to this session on class 11 biology for CBSE. I'm Dr. Divya, biology faculty, Vidhyaashram School of Excellence, Mysuru. So in this session, let us learn a topic, class chondrichthyes under subphylum Vertebrata of chapter 4, Animal Kingdom. So let's learn the characteristic of chondrichthyes and then move into learning about some of the MCQs that can be framed under this particular topic. So class chondrichthyes, in the previous session we learnt about class cyclostomata and we got to know the characteristics. So now you'll understand what is the major difference between cyclostomata. If not, go on to the previous session wherein you can have a look at it. So class chondrichthyes, they are also marine animals, wherein cyclostomata were also marine animals, and they have streamlined body. So streamlined body is just like this. It looks like this, like an aeroplane. Aeroplanes also have a streamlined body. And why is the streamlined body present? So that we all know that how much force the water current has or how much pressure the water current has, right? So the fishes have to swim through these water currents. So if they have to swim through these water currents, cutting the water currents or the water pressure, they need to have a body shape which is streamlined, so that it can easily cut through the water currents and swim very fast. So that is why they have a streamlined body, and they have an endoskeleton which is cartilaginous, that is, it is of a soft bone. And their mouth is located ventrally, that is at the lower side of the body. So you can see a ventral mouth right here. So mouth is ventrally located. Even here also you can see the mouth is ventrally located. So they have a ventral mouth, and notochord is present, and we all know that in vertebrates the notochord is present only in the embryonic stage. Later on, when they develop into an adult, it gets replaced by a cartilaginous vertebral column in this particular case. And because they are marine, here they have gill slits which do not have operculum. So operculum is something that covers the gills. Like in fishes, we can't see the gill slits, right? Because they have a plate-like structure which covers the gills. They have operculum. So that is why they are placed under osteichthyes separately. But the only thing is chondrichthyes, they have gill slits, but the gill slits are not covered by an operculum. It's not covered, so they don't have an operculum. So hence they are placed, those organisms whose gill slits do not have operculum, they have placed it under chondrichthyes. Otherwise, they could have put these under osteichthyes. And one more thing is, their skin is tough or rough and it contains minute placoid scales. So placoid scales are present in chondrichthyes, whereas osteichthyes have ctenoid scales. So placoid scales are scales which look exactly like a teeth, like how a molar teeth looks like, right? The molars that we have, just like that, the crown of the molars. So just like that it looks. So such scales are called as placoid scales. So the body is covered by scales. Now cyclostomata body was not covered by scales. They didn't have jaws, but these have jaws. And they don't have suction. Instead, they have a mouth with jaws and with teeth. So that is why they have placed these organisms separately under chondrichthyes and not grouped it under cyclostomata. And the teeth are modified placoid scales. So I told you the body is covered by placoid scales, and some of the placoid scales, they get modified and they form the teeth, and these organisms have jaws. Therefore, they are placed under the order Gnathostomata. And their jaws are very, very powerful because these are carnivorous animals, wherein they feed on the other organisms. They prey on the other organisms, and these animals are very, very predacious, and we have heard of a lot of shark attacks and all that, right? They are quite ferocious and predaceous animals, and that is why they have very strong jaws and teeth. And they do not have air bladder. Now the main difference between osteichthyes and chondrichthyes is that they do not have air bladder. One is the gill slit that I told you. The gill slits are not covered by operculum. One more thing is they do not have air bladder, and air bladder is not there means they cannot stop even for a second without swimming. Otherwise they'll sink to the bottom because of the lack of air bladder. Their body do not have buoyancy, or their body is not buoyant. So buoyancy means the ability to float with water. Like when we go for swimming, we have to either keep swimming continuously, paddle ourselves continuously in the water, right? Otherwise we'll drown. Or we need to use a tube around us which is filled with air, or we need to use a water safety jacket, right? So that it will give us buoyancy to our body. Just like that, these organisms also, they do not have an air bladder, and therefore they have to keep continuously swimming in order to prevent drowning. So they continuously swim. These sharks, the tiger sharks, the hammerhead sharks, or the sawfish, all these come under the chondrichthyes, and they continuously have to swim. And they have a heart which is two-chambered. So one auricle and one ventricle. So they have two-chambered heart wherein they have the upper auricle and the lower ventricle. And some of the chondrichthyes, they have some defense structures in them in order to protect themselves from other predaceous animals. So some of them have electric organs, for example torpedo. So this is torpedo. They have electric organs which gives a shock when it is touched, so that like human beings and all that don't dare to go near them. And some of them, for example the trigon, they have poison sting. So if you see trigon here at the tip, this portion, this is the poison sting that they have. Poison sting. So this is a ray fish. So they have poison sting, and this is called as trigon. These two are, that is the torpedo and trigon, they have defensive structures in them. And these are cold-blooded animals, meaning poikilothermous. Poikilothermous, cold-blooded animals. So cold-blooded animals are those animals which are not capable of regulating their body temperature. Say for example, we human beings are warm-blooded animals. So whenever we go to a cold place, do you just measure your body temperature? Of course, when you touch your outside body, you'll feel cold, it is cold. But inside our body, the temperature will always remain same. Say for example, you're living in Kashmir where the temperature is minus, right? In the winters, it is minus. Now imagine if inside our body also if the temperature becomes minus, what might happen? Our blood will start to freeze. Circulation of blood will completely stop, and eventually the person will die. That is why we human beings are homeothermous, that is warm-blooded, wherein our body temperature does not change according to the external temperature. Whatever the external temperature is, unless we have a fever, our body temperature will remain somewhere between 97 to 99 degree Fahrenheit only, right? So that is homeothermous. Now what is poikilothermous? These organisms are not capable of regulating their body temperature. So their body temperature changes according to the external environment. So that is why some of the fishes, not all fishes, can live in the Arctics and all that. So that is about these organisms. They lack the capacity to regulate their body temperature, and that is why they have hard scales and all that, which prevents them from the extreme cold waters. And their sexes are separate, meaning they are dioecious, wherein the male and the female is separate, and in males they have a structure for copulation which is called as claspers. So these claspers are present in their fins. So that helps them in copulation. And they have internal fertilization, wherein the sperm fuses with the egg inside the body of the organism itself. That is, fertilization takes place inside the body. And most of these organisms are viviparous. Now don't get confused. It is viviparous means those organisms which give birth to young ones. Now you can ask me, they give birth to young ones, and why didn't they put them under class Mammalia? The reason is, of course, these organisms give birth to young ones, most of them, but they do not have mammary glands to nourish the young ones with milk. So that is why they are not placed under mammals. But whales exactly look like the chondrichthyes only, but whales are not placed under chondrichthyes because males have mammary glands in them. So that is the reason. So don't always get confused when the term viviparous comes here. So these are organisms which give birth to young ones directly. Next, some of the example, Scoliodon, which is called as dogfish. So this is dogfish, Scoliodon. Then we have Pristis, which is called sawfish. So this is the sawfish. If you see its snout, no, it looks like a saw only. So sawfish. Then there is Carcharodon, which is the white shark. So this is the white shark. And Trigon, which is stingray. This is stingray. So these are the, if you carefully look, you can see the poison stings that they have. So these are some of the examples for chondrichthyes. So now we know the characteristics of chondrichthyes, so we shall look into the MCQs. So which is not a characteristic feature of chondrichthyes? Again here, not a characteristic feature. So lack of jaws, they do have jaws, they have jaws. So is this not a characteristic? Of course, this is not a characteristic. Option A is the right answer here because they have jaws. Notochord persistent. Notochord is not persistent. So therefore, this option also can be the right answer. So it's both A and B is the right answer here. There has been some mistake that has happened. So both A and B also is the right answer here because they also have notochord which is present. That is, they have notochord but it is not persistent. Only in the younger ones, in the embryonic stage, they have the notochord. Later, it gets replaced by the vertebral column. So, this is also not a characteristic of chondrichthyes and this is also not a characteristic of chondrichthyes. Teeth are backwardly directed. That is a characteristic because the teeth are backwardly directed. And one more is cartilaginous endoskeleton. Yes, they have an endoskeleton which is made up of cartilage or soft bone. So therefore, this is also, both are not the right answer. It's actually A and B are the right answer here. So one more option, if it is given both A and B, you have to select both A and B because both of these are right. There has been a mistake that has happened here. So what is not a characteristic here? Lack of jaws and notochord persistent. Next, the body of chondrichthyes is covered by dash, cycloid scales, ctenoid scales, scutes, plecoid scales. Cycloid scales and ctenoid scales are present in osteichthyes. Okay, it's not in chondrichthyes. So that is not, A and B is not the right answer. Scutes. So scutes are usually present in reptiles wherein they have this cornified, dried, hard skin that is there which is called as scutes. It's present in reptiles. So therefore, plecoid scales is the right answer. So plecoid scales, that is option D is the right answer here. The heart and chondrichthyes are dash chambered, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So 2 chambered wherein I told you it has one auricle and one ventricle. So they are 2 chambered. In chondrichthyes, the teeth are directed. Is it directed towards the front? No. Backwards? Yes. Left? Upwards? No. Upwards? No, the answer is wrong. Left also answer is wrong. Option B is the right answer. They have jaws, they have teeth, but the teeth are directed backwards, that is towards their mouth. Chondrichthyes have to swim constantly. Why? We have learnt about this characteristic which is the major difference between osteichthyes and chondrichthyes, right? So what is the reason why chondrichthyes have to swim constantly? We shall look into. So due to the presence of air bladder. No, if they have a air bladder, it will give their body buoyancy. So there is no need for them to swim. So therefore this option is not correct. Due to the absence of air bladder. Yes, they do not have an air bladder. That is why they are not capable of floating in water. Hence, if they have to float in water, they have to continuously swim. Due to absence of fins, no, they have fins. So, therefore, it's not the right option due to the heavy weight. So, that is also not the right option. The right option here is option B due to the absence of air bladder. Next, torpedoes have dash organs. Poison sting, electric, or they can ask trigon have dash organs. So poison sting is found in trigon. Okay, it is stingray. It is also called as stingray. So they can ask trigon have dash organs or stingrays have dash organ. That time you have to choose option A if that is the question, because they have poison sting. Now torpedoes, they have electric organs in them. They have electric organs, option B. Poison needles, no, these do not have poison needles. Water jet, no, water jet, some of the ostrich thighs have water jet mechanism wherein they can just like a jet, they can propel in water. So it's not water jet also. Option B is a defense. Water jet is not a defense organ. Option B here is the defense organ that is apt for torpedoes. And I told you if the question is like, or they can ask the question like trigon have dash organs, then it is poison sting is the answer. Or stingrays have dash organs, then also poison sting is the answer, because trigon is also called as stingray. Now the question here is torpedoes have dash organ, therefore option B is the right answer, that is electric organ. The pelvic fin of male chondrichthyes bear, what do they have in their pelvic fin? Is it nails? No, not nails. Stings? No. Why? Because these males, they have that organ which helps in copulation, that is for mating. So here stings is not the right answer, because stings is a defensive structure in them. Scales not the right answer. Of course they have scales, but it doesn't help in copulation and all that. So claspers is the right answer. That is in males, especially in the pelvic fin, they have claspers. So therefore option C is the right answer here. So this was about the session wherein we learnt about the class chondrichthyes under subphylum Vertebrata, and remember they come under the order Gnathostomata. So that MCQ can also be asked. So I hope you understood this session well. So we shall meet again in the coming session wherein we will learn about one more class under the subphylum Vertebrata. So see you in the next session. Thank you.